and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video today with me, which will be again another eclipse topic video message. So as you've probably noticed, if you have been following my latest videos, especially this month, there was this overall topic of the embodiment of the Christed love and how to really get that love closer to the aspects of us in our human form that still sometimes felt unfamiliar or uncomfortable with embracing the more darker or hidden aspects that either are expressed to ourselves, others, the world at large. So in today's video, I want to bring again this topic to an even deeper insight, and I want to explain some of the things that I received as a guided visual to assist the transition of this process, and I'll explain this further on with the short activation we can all do and participate with in our own light work. So the culminating experience for us at this time is coming through the Aquarius new moon, which is a solar eclipse. And I want to start by really reading something I wrote today as spirit guidance. It's also shared underneath, but those of you who prefer more to get it in the visual sense. So I always see Aquarius as an aspect of liberation and ascension, and what the fourth white ray teaches is the liberation of soul, the harmony, the purity of being, of that sacred essence through the sacred holy white fire, which is in direct relation to that liberation essence. So this is what I wrote. So beyond all, Aquarius is a sign of liberation, which is what each soul must undergo if it truly wants to experience ascension, of course, in our physical experience. As human beings, we so often fall into the patterns of entrapment of thinking what all we need to acquire in order to become enlightened. However, true enlightenment begins with a full awakening of the Christed heart within. And for us to embody that truly, we need to completely embrace the aspect of us that is the human counterpart, or the human experience, which leads into the liberation of every experience we've ever had. We can't reach higher states of consciousness, and this is the most important sentence of all, by bypassing the heart. To truly open our heart to the infinite divine love is our true divine purpose, so that the purity of love could penetrate deep into the human experience. As we each do that in our own way, we are being guided deeper into a state of complete love and surrender beyond all fears which stem from separation. Our role as new humans is not to acquire more information and knowledge, but to open our hearts so that it can receive the so-called essence of Christ, which is the ultimate nourishment of true love. That cannot be experienced while we still hold judgment through separation in our heart, because that keeps it closed and impenetrable for love. In our pursuit to live life as fully illumined beings, we must first establish an ultimate state of peace and surrender for everything and everyone that is, whether it resonates with us or not. Only through the journey of true acceptance can our souls fully be liberated and experience the synthesis called physical ascension and apotheosis of love for all life in creation. All true masters that ascended before have not done so through the pursuit of knowledge, although many think so, but only after they have actually left that knowledge behind in the pursuit of experience of ultimate love in divine union. So yes, this is truly what Spirit wanted me to talk about. And what does it mean, as it says in the title, the embrace of grace, because I've talked about grace before as a mystical experience. Once you start tapping into the aspects of you that can provide a much richer work of light than that which is the perceived norm. So we often think that we need, as it's stated here, a lot of information, and people are still desperately sometimes even seeking the journey towards ascension through the pathway of information. It is one thing to be informed. It is the other thing to be awake, really awake, and then it's the third thing, the last stage, to be truly fully embodied, in an embodied sense, truly be ascended. So the path of this opening of the heart to the truth of love is a state that every one of us has to choose, and it has to come as this conscious choice. And it's very sad that I still see a lot of this judgment held, especially in the spiritual circles, because sometimes I've even heard people calling it the spiritual or the New Age cult. And I wouldn't actually call it that way, because then again, it's a strong term. But there's a lot of backstabbing there, and a lot of eyelashing and gossiping and all these things that, you know, are still very low in the density of the expression, which keeps us separate. So I always think of the words that our beloved Joshua has said, that we're truly all brothers and sisters, and we should act as we are equals, instead of bashing, you know, and bantering over each other, to kind of like, you know, my mother today said, you know, we are like all in the beautiful ocean, and some people are just swimming and floating, some people are like drowning, some people are pushing others down. And it's like, yes, it's a really other visual. And then she said, well, some of you are lifting others up. And there is a different component to lifting someone up just by being yourself, just by being in the Christed light, and overlighting with that light, or trying to rescue or save something or someone or the world at large. So today, before coming here to our beautiful hill, I've actually listened to an astrological report by a beautiful astrologer. He's so funny. And he said that its first stage of life, he thought his mission was to bring astrology close to a lot of people, and, you know, just get the world to think in a more expanded way, and was trying to do that in a very broad sense, and all the workshop and everything he's been doing. And then he realized now he has a different mission, and that this mission is in no relation to teaching that, or, you know, trying to save, or, you know, heal others, and even bring healing to others, but just getting to truly know what love is, understanding love and the purity of love, and that our ultimate experience, which is held within that love. And I was smiling because I'm seeing that there's people who are getting it. And in all my messages of all these years, you know, I've been sharing a lot of knowledge as well, but the underlining factor was always the divine love. And to bring love closer to people through your own embodiment of love is the ultimate healing, which needs no additional healing or saving or rescuing, or, you know, putting on a pedestal, or, you know, doing it through your equality, doing it as we are equals, sharing ourselves, our heart. And we cannot do that by bypassing the human heart, because the human heart that holds no judgment, like it said in the spirit writing, is an open gate for an ultimate experience of divine love. And people who are still seeking ascension as an informational pathway, you know, and blaming each other and who's not the guide, who's real, who's not. And, you know, I always talk about these things in a very general, broad term. When I say New Age, I never aim specifically at certain people. I just say that there's a whole lot of misinformation out there. And whenever we present it through separation, it's not truly the New Age with capital letters that we're entering through, which is the age of precession, the precession of entering a new astrological or age of creation that is beginning with Aquarius. And I think this new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius is a strong predecessor to tapping into what is there, or what lies there next as an opportunity, which is the ultimate experience of love and union. So when you yourself, and this will be the second part of this message I really was guided to share, when you experience the opposite in terms of opposition, and in many cases it comes through others, because I was shown many times, you know, through spirit, even when I started this path, and I was kind of uncomfortable with sharing myself so openly at first. And then I knew, as I've shared in my previous video, that to be human, to show the human vulnerability through your own experience, rather than to just talk about these things as concepts, it's what gets this closer to people who are really doing the work. And in a lot of cases, people don't want to do the work. So they want to pursue that informationally, which sometimes makes them mad, because they want to hear certain things from you that you're not providing. And you can't provide that for them. It doesn't work that way. When you're truly guiding through your own heart that guides the way within the Christed nature, you can bring information in that way. You can bring healing to others. You can bring something special or something that's not out there already. That's the case. And sometimes these people get mad because they're not getting something they think they want. The mind is so busy, so overly occupied, so they get stressed and they get triggered, and then they get fired up, and especially with energies like this, with eclipses and so forth. So back in the beginning, I received a clear message that because divine love is so neutral, it's not like waves. It's like, it's like the surface of the lake. It's like still, and it embraces everyone and everything. And my love for life, for people, has always been very much equal. It hasn't felt, like a special connection with someone, and a particular one, or I would love more, than the rest. And I've realized when I've really looked into my heart that I've actually loved people who acted like my enemies, not truly enemies, but, the path I've chosen to reflect the nature of diversity here in this planet Earth back to me in difference to people who are very loving and open. I realized that I feel no different to one or the other. And I was shown through spirit very early when I started doing this work of sharing within divine love and what it truly is through connection with the inner Christ, was that divine love, because it's so neutral, it will always embrace polarity. And because polarity on earth, it still expresses in many cases within duality, you will get both results. So people who strongly love you and people who strongly hate you. It's funny, I'm laughing, because hate doesn't truly exist. Hate is love that is filtered or experienced through separation, so it gets twisted. And people who hate, they actually love at the core that thing or person or essence, whatever it is. So in today's activation work, I want to present you with a very beautiful exercise or light work for those of you who want to go beyond, who want to take a step further when you experience what is called the opposition, or judgments perhaps, or whatever it is from others or the external world or organizations, groups of people, aspects in the world, whatever. It does not relate to one specific thing, but it's the feeling that tells you something's fishy here. It doesn't feel like it's of love. And I often see that people whose heart are very open always resonate with what I share, because it's the path of the heart. And people who want to bypass the heart, they want to go into the mind, they want to go into ascension mentally, these people won't like what I share, and they often judge it. They judge the way I live, they judge my personal life, they get involved in what I do. It's none of their business, actually. It's no one's business but mine. It's my embodiment, it's my soul agreement. So people who do that, they often get fired up, very triggered by something. And recently, through one of such experiences, because I always take them as mirrors, I take them to reflect something back to me, which either needs to be worked with within the light, the Kriya and devotion that I do personally, and sometimes what also needs to come up as addressed in these messages. So recently, something started to happen again, and someone started physically, very publicly criticizing my relationship and the way I live, and with my mother. And I was laughing the whole time because it's just so childish. I was thinking, what it's like kindergarten's play. I mean, even kids don't do that now, but the thing was, I always asked myself, okay, where's this coming from? Where's the separation really? Where's the root of it? And then I go into meditation. That's what I do. I never judge the person. I don't really react to these things, because triggers that people feel are actually their own. So when they're being all fired up and trying to tell you, what's right or what you should do or be like, that's basically something they need to reflect back to themselves. But a lot of people don't do that. And I've said people who want to work on themselves, these people usually love what I do. And people who want information instead, by bypassing the inner work, these people won't like it, and they will often judge it. And it's just the experience of life in very practical sense showed me that. So when I asked myself, what's there at the root? And because the focus of the judgment was my relationship with the mother, with the aspect of the mother. And that's so beautiful, because this aspect is coming through so strongly now in the feminine principle, and really getting to know what does divine mother mean? What is that essence of life? Yes? And I went into the essence of it, and because that's what I do. I function at the essence level. I don't go into the brain, I never do that. So it was very interesting, because I actually, when you work with spirit that way, you get answers very directly and very clearly. And you're also shown what you can do to enhance the resolution of such intense dualistic polarity, so it can come into the essence of unified polarity again. So when I went into the essence of it, because sometimes someone who does that, they actually want attention from you, but that attention comes not just through their ego, which interprets things in their own way and their stories, whatever delusions they are about you. it's actually delusions they hold about themselves. And it's usually examples when a pattern is held so strongly that they react to something you mirror for them so strongly again. But because they don't do the inner work, they don't see it. I've shared this many, many times before, how reflection work operates. They will kind of try to bombard you with that, so they wouldn't claim responsibility for that. And I can't do the work for others on the behalf, but I do enter meditation so it can clear the level at the essence, so that I can do my part in playing, not in the isolated, oh, that's not mine, because I don't do that, but in entering into that as a doorway for further deepening of our light work, especially you as volunteer souls who are probably watching my videos, to see how you can even deepen that work of instead of judging people who judge you back. It's just ego playing tennis, with this doesn't work. It's a very surface level which keeps coming back. So the highest thing we can do, again, is to work with the essence, to move into the essence level. And that's what I was shown is the embrace of grace occurs at the essence level. I'm going to show you in the meditation. So I was actually shown, and I was seeing a hug. And I actually, because the criticism was about my experience and my relationship, my choice of living with my mother, was so funny, because that's what the message was about. And I was actually seeing the being, and the words came through was they never actually experienced that embrace of grace. They never had that acceptance of the mother. That's what the main criticism, although there was many things said, was that was the focal point. And I felt like at the essence level, that embrace just needed to be shared. So I did that work. I really felt that coming through. And an additional guidance came through that when we hold judgment about something that becomes a pattern in our life, let's say my pattern would be, you are not spiritual if, I don't know, you're hanging out with your mother. It's funny, I know. It sounds funny, but some people think that way. It's how it is. And I was thinking, it's so funny, where do these things, these patterns, these delusions come from? And again, it's from the personal experience, which we judge within our own selves. So we pass that judgment then as an external experience towards others, but it's truly not. And like I said, people who avoid doing the inner work, they keep remaining fragmented, and they don't come back into their wholeness. The heart keeps staying closed. They can move further. They want more information, but that information cannot be processed because it's processed through the heart. So the thing is, trying to pursue higher consciousness, it remains at the level of information when you can't process it through the heart, and you can move into working with spirit and at the essence level. So what happens is, usually these are calls for attention because there's something there that's fragmented. And when I'm looking at things at the essence level, I'm usually seeing things that are not just about the person perhaps who opens the gateway of that, but as an overall experience that happens on earth. It's collective. So I was seeing how many people have not received that experience ever of the love of the mother, which is not just her physical mother, but divine mother. That sustenance for life, that beauty, that just love. Because as you know, my messages were always about love, creation love, devotion for life, loving all equally. And all other masters have been sharing this in the very same way. I mean, you have stories like the story of Buddha, who left to pursue enlightenment, came back, said, well, that's not really what I got. But as he came back, he realized it was already there all the time. It was there. And last year I made a video where I read you this from the Osho Transformational Tarot, this beautiful story of how he realized the pursuit of it makes it elusive, but then realizing it's already there and just starting to embody it, bring it into your daily practices, like most mundane things, is what really makes you enlightened and then eventually ascended. So I was shown that as a very strong archetype, that disconnection from the mother, which is, again, the main theme, the disconnection from life, the goddess. And people start holding those patterns. So if someone says, you are not spiritual because you live like that, or you can't be embodying what you do because your lifestyle is like this. It's crazy what people will all think and say, but it has a root. It has a very foundational level. That we can't understand intellectually, but we have to connect with these beings at the heart level so we can see the essence of where that's really coming from. So for those of you who want to move deeper in your own work of light, instead of, just responding with fear, because I had a lot of empathic, beautiful, beautiful souls who told me stories of how they were actually caught off by other people, how they were manipulated by other people, how they were backstabbed by other people. So they had very negative experiences. And a lot of it, let me tell you, was women to women. Men, although we do have a very patriarchal establishment, men don't usually do that. They don't usually do that as much as women do. And it's funny, why is it a feminine thing? Again, it's a very, very long story of creation, and we're not going to go into that in this video today, per se. But it has roots, and it's within many, many cultures of keeping the feminine energy separate. So there's nothing worse than a sister attacking the other sister, saying, oh, you are like this, you're like that. Oh, it's like constant pushing. And ask yourself, well, what would Joshua tell you? I mean, I'm not a Christian. When they always say, what would Jesus do? I'm not. I really respect everyone's beliefs, but it's more about, really, what would love do? When we say what would Christ do, it's what would love do? The love of the Christ the consciousness. So it's funny. I know I'm laughing. It's because I'm just neutral about these things. And I know they're hard for many people. But I've experienced a lot of people who shared these things with me, how vulnerable they felt because they expressed themselves, they opened their hearts, and then they had a bad experience, which was a very separate experience, especially women to women. And I know because I myself experienced that, and then they closed up. So I want to provide you, especially those of you who are very sensitive, empathic, beautiful beings, volunteer souls, whoever you are, a work of light that you can do to assist this process. So instead of hiding yourself and closing off because of this negative experience, because remember, in unified polarity, which is just the path of beloved divine union, which is the ultimate alchemy of soul, doesn't matter whether someone expresses something to you negatively or positively, you held them within divinity of love. That's when you truly are a master of the self of union. Before that, we're just stumbling and we're getting to know and we're seeking knowledge and information, but that's when we truly can say, wow, I've graduated from this. I've learned to function, not just know of the Christ, but I'm functioning always within the practice of the Christ at heart. So this is the theme this year, the goddess principle, embracing not just the masculine Christ, but the feminine Christ as well. So I want to share this very beautiful meditation or light exercise you can do when you yourself experience that, whether it's with an individual, a group, organization, whatever, it doesn't matter, or a pattern in life you feel. It's kind of acting as an opposition. Because what acts with judgment holds judgment. Let's say if someone is angry at me, they're not angry at me. They're angry within that aspect. They're holding anger within themselves, because you can't be angry if anger is not already within you. Because I know I used to be angry too in my early stages of life. And then I read about Joshua, some of his stories, and he said, I had a lot of anger when I was young. Because there were some beautiful Joshua channelings. Pamela, I think it's from Pamela. I don't know the last name. I think the book is called Joshua Channelings. I didn't actually read that book. We were reading the other book about the Mission of Souls from Robert Schwartz. And there's many examples, and there's some Joshua channelings, and they're beautiful channelings. Very simple. He said he also had, in the beginning stages of his life, he was very, passionate and fiery, and he was angry about the system and everything. And he had to realize as well, it doesn't suit you. It can't serve you. So he had to, as a human as well, go through these initiations and how the Christ is birthed on earth into form. Beautiful stories, yeah. So in this activation or meditation, I was shown, again, it's very simple. I'm going to show you what you can do when you experience that. Is just lie down, sit comfortably, whatever feels good for you. I like to lie down and just put your hands on your heart chakra and imagine your heart is an illumined essence of the golden Christ at heart, whatever. And then call forth the transfiguring flame of divine love. You can also call for the violet flame. You can call for your light team, light family, light beings, beings who function within the law of unity. Always call the unity. Because what I've also experienced a lot of times when people get very angry responses and they say very bad things to you, often it's not them. It's not coming from their soul. I'm sorry again, I have to say these things, but they're real. They're happening. These people who are they have literally holes in their auric etheric system. And what's happening, because they were so downgraded in terms of vibration, and they were so disconnected on certain levels, because they couldn't find a pathway back to that love of unity, they became the channel. Instead of for high energies, a lot of people became temporarily channel for lower entities, as you know, from the lower astral planes. And these entities are just dying to express anger and rage through souls who are not sovereign, beings who are not sovereign in the moment. So in this meditation, you're not just embracing through the law of unity, which is called the embrace of grace. That's what I receive from Spirit. It's an angelic embrace of grace. But you're also assisting the etheric energy whole leakage system for the being or the group or whatever you're doing it for, so that it can eventually help to restore itself back into perfection. First thing first, don't do it on the behalf of your personality. I know, although we are all of us who are here, who are integrated beings, we know that our personality and soul are not separate anymore. The soul is completely engulfed our personality. It's one. It's ascended personality, which I've talked about before. But we still have to constantly invoke the I am presence in the name and on the behalf of the I am, because when we, let's say you receive criticism or judgment, or, you know, an opposition comes directed, there might be still an aspect that wants to play and do something out of a certain agenda. And when you invoke the I am, you will see the difference. I'm just telling you, it's an instant level when you, it's an instant ascension level when you go into the I am invocation, and you will feel the higher perspective just opens up straight away. It's just so beautiful. So when I did that first time in that situation I experienced recently, was I saw, and it was almost like that being is telling me how they were never ever truly embraced. And it was, again, it's from the mother. And I actually saw, I felt the words, oh, I'm just going to embrace you until, you know, and it was like angel wings wrapping around that being. And that intention goes, and when you invoke it through the I am presence, and it was like the embrace of grace softens the energy field of people who are still angry or hurt. You help them immensely, even though you might not get instant results if it's maybe your friends or family, but you are invoking this light so that it can't precipitate deeper and deeper into our physical realm. Because for many people, they can't move out of it in this moment. They can't even see it, because, you know, those of us who are integrated, we can't understand how it is to just speak badly to someone. I never speak badly to anyone. You know, I speak about things that are manipulations, illusions in this world in a very neutral way, but I never speak badly to anyone. For me, it's outrageous. It's like speaking bad to myself when you do it to another. And then I think about all these things that these people still say and can't see. It's almost like some of them see, but they can't move beyond it. They can move past it. It's difficult for some of them. So in this meditation or activation, when you experience that, you're instantly helping to lift up the energy of yourself through the I am presence and for that being or group or organization, doesn't matter. So you move into your Christed heart of illumined radiant presence. You invoke the transfiguring flame of divine love. You can see it as this magenta, fuchsia, pink, beautiful radiance coming through, descending into your physical form as you invoke the I am presence. And through that love, now you see yourself with angelic wings embracing yourself, because the first embrace, remember, the first experience of love is for us. And you embrace with these giant wings, this being, this group, energy, whatever it is, organization, even the whole planet, you know, whatever you want, maybe even the whole galaxy. I don't know how far you're willing to go. Just try it out. Just really see the energy, because it will move fast. And then sit with it for a while. Sit in that embrace. Just sit in that embrace. Feel the transfiguring flame of divine love. If you want to know more about that, just go to Patricia Cota-Robles, her beautiful video blogs on the violet flame, transfiguring flame of divine love, all of that. I don't want to repeat what other people are already saying, because that's not authentic, but I will recommend it to you if it's good. So then just sit with that embrace. And then maybe sometimes you'll get guidance. Maybe that being, their soul, just share something with you. And then you just stay with it. Just be neutral. Don't think of anyone as, you know, that embrace is of equality. It's of divine equals. You know, in the physical, the personality, if you're still functioning in personality, which you will quickly see, which is the fragmented personality, not the ascended soul personality, you will be triggered too. So you want to write back, or you want to like, get a response. And, when you're illumined, you don't do that. You have no need, because your love is enough. It speaks volumes. You know what true love is. You don't need to push buttons back. You don't need to get argumentative with anyone. You're completely a being of peace. That's what all the masters were teaching. Just be peace. Don't get involved. The message of turning the cheek around was not get beaten on the other side too. No, it was a message of just don't be provoked. Don't allow yourself to be provoked. That was the message. And I think Gandhi was sharing some of that in his mission. So anyway, non-violent action, yeah. But still be active, proactive, not passive. That's a very different thing. I'm sorry I'm doing this, wiggling you with the finger like naughty students. Just kidding, guys. Anyway, yeah. So when you sit in that embrace for a while, you can call upon the angels. And then what I saw was you can do either a violet flame, maybe covered up with you can see a violet flame pyramid of light, or a dome of light, and whatever suits you more. And to just call in the transfiguring flame of divine love, to call in that pyramid of love. And then from that space, invoke all the beings who work with you, masters, guides, angels, who work within unity consciousness. Always say, within sovereignty of unity consciousness. Because there's beings posing us, but they're not within unity consciousness. So you always have to invoke that as well. And then in the name of the I Am, hold a loving intention that all that moves towards you, that's still fragmented and comes to put that responsibility of self-healing upon you, which you don't have, which is not yours to own. Reflect it back through that pyramid, through love, because you're not reflecting it through ego. Just do it through the violet flame pyramid and the dome of light held within the transfiguring flame of divine love. Fill it with fuchsia light, with magenta light of pink. Soften that, see that core of that softening, just really soften it. And then see how that moves back to the being. But it's not the same thing that they projected to you coming in return, because again, that's just like a loop. But it's filled now, it's charged with the transfiguring flame of divine love. You see, that's the difference now. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to build a pyramid, I'm going to shield myself and reflect back everything to the other person. You might protect yourself, but if your agenda, remember, it's not selfless service to just serve the self. Our agenda, which is the agenda of divine love and unity consciousness held in divine union, is to assist. Not healing others, but assist to hold the space of divine love. That's basically the ultimate mission we all have on earth. Doesn't matter how close we are in embodying it, whether you're already a fully blown master or you're still a beginning initiate, doesn't matter. We all walk the same footsteps here on earth. There's divine equality for everyone. We have to remember that. So, in this meditation, you're not sending back the same thing, like you're shielding yourself and your body or your mind, so you wouldn't get hurt or rejected or feel bad. But you're actually assisting through the essence level. You're helping the flame of divine love to transmute that lower negativity coming through separation aimed towards you or something, or maybe some people do it to hurt animals or the environment. It's not just physical beings like humans. All life can be affected that way, as we know. So then just see how that reflects back, but this time empower through the grace, from base of grace and the transfiguring flame of divine love. And then say that you ask in the name of the I Am that all the responsibility that is not yours for any actions, words, or deeds on the behalf of that being or person, organization, whatever, comes back to them, empowered through the grace of divine love. Hold it for a few moments in your heart. Breathe into it. And have your purest intent, because again, you're not doing that to protect yourself, your work. Some people, what they do is they want to just destroy your work, let's say it like that, or you or whatever. People still do that. Don't do that, though, in order to protect yourself. Because again, the focus is you, the I, the identity, the persona. Do it out of pure love for advancement of consciousness, evolution of consciousness held on this planet. Because then your agenda will be pure. And when your agenda is pure, it's not agenda anymore. It's just pure love. So it's a lot more to understand for us how to truly be a Christ on the planet. And this will be a continuous mission and messages. The path of knowledge serves us to a certain point because we need certain understanding about ourselves as physical beings so we can expand the consciousness. But as the consciousness expands to a certain level, then for us to reach the next level, again, the heart has to expand even more. And again, it's like the proportion of divine creativity held within our hearts is equal to the amount of light we anchor and activate. So activate and anchor, vice versa. So beautiful beings, it's very important if you are called to that work, instead of just rejecting these essences or energies, because a lot of people feel vulnerable at their first initial stages of soul empathy, and they're so tender, and it's beautiful to be tender, but we are also here as fierce masters. We are lionesses and lions, and we have the power to offer more of love, because a lot of people stop doing what they do because they feel threatened by the world or not accepted. And remember, it's not about them. It's about your mission. Only you know it. Only you can walk it. Just a few people don't have a power, or just one person doesn't have the power to get involved with your mission or to destroy it or whatever it is, just because they feel triggered by something. But you have the capacity to influence a lot more this reality through anchoring a lot more love than you perhaps before thought possible. So when I talked about the amplification of light, and you can find also more about that in Patricia's videos about, what's it called? The contingency plan for Earth, I think, through the light amplification. But this is not just that. This amplification causes us to not just amplify more light, but to embody more, to ground more of that Christed light. So it takes a whole lot of physical work we can do in our bodies. Doesn't mean you physically do things, but like I did in my meditation, you put focus in your energy there instead of just saying, oh, it doesn't concern me. Well, it's easy to do that. Like I said, it's easy to not share in a vulnerable way, which makes you exposed. And the thing is, I was laughing because we had a talk today about how certain people, they never lived in that love. They never knew love. And especially if someone did not get it from their own mother, which is the first gateway towards knowing the feminine source, right? The goddess aspect. A lot of people become deprived of that. So when they see something reflected, they quickly judge it because their pattern is, that must not be real. It must be hoax. There must be something wrong here. But I have to tell you, in my own experience of love, my biggest teacher of love when I was growing up was my mother, because she was always the unconditional love embodied. And she always tells me, oh, I need more knowledge about this and that, and read those books. Why are they not in English language? Because she doesn't know it that well. And I say, you don't need it. You've mastered love. You are such a master of love that it's hard to experience with the majority of people. But I have tears in my eyes, because that being is, for me, she's the ultimate love. And for me to be with her, to share my love with her in so many ways, although I'm also very independent, is to choose love. You know, I can choose to go live alone, can do anything because I'm independent completely. But I choose to be with her because that's love. We have so much beautiful moments together, and when I look at her eyes, we're always laughing. You know, we're goofy. We're always so goofy, and we're playing. And people don't get that because they don't know what it means, what true soul companionship means. And so people have been lacking that. And I know and I understand. But you are the powerful creator. You can create that for yourself. It took us years, you know, to come where we are now, to go through that transformation. And we now both live as feminine Christs. I mean, seriously, we do. And it's beautiful for us. And we're laughing, and I'm just looking at her, and it's just enough to look in her eyes, and I say, oh, you're beautiful. And then she looks at me, you're beautiful. I said, no, you're more beautiful. And we're laughing, and I know, I talk about it, I get really emotional, because it's just, I said to you before, it's the personal experience that counts. You can have all the knowledge in the world, it's never going to be enough. Never going to be enough. So for some people, it's a life partner. For some people, it's a special friend. But we all have that one reflection that says to us, this is how it feels. This is how it feels to share the light of who we are within the heart of the Christ. And it's just so beautiful. I have no other words. I can tell you. Doesn't matter. People always say, well, it has to be, you know, that way, this way. Yeah, there's many forms of love. And if you've ever read the Book of Love, apparently written through Joshua's daughter and then transcribed earlier, the Libro Rosso, the Book of Love. And in there, I've talked about so many times, there's different degrees of love, and all together is just universal love, divine love, all these archetypes together. And you have family love, love of sisterhood, brotherhood, love of service and devotion, the eros, the agape love, love of joy of life, all these loves. And we've, as humans, we've misplaced that for many other things that are not within the immaculate design anymore. And we've said power, greed, competitivity, competitive behaviors, all of that. And that's why it's so funny to me, because people just don't allow other people to be who they are. It's crazy, you know. It's one thing to recognize patterns of distortion, but it's another to go to someone directly and point it at them. It's you know, leave people alone. Seriously, let them be who they are, because that means you truly love them. People say, well, no, that person's not, they should know more, they should heal more. Leave them. Invoke the I Am Presence, wish everyone the best, but please stop interfering in other people's lives. I know those of you who watch my videos probably don't, but you never know. You know, there's people who think they're doing good, but they're actually interfering. So you have to clear the way. There is no ascension without clearing the way through soul liberation. For me, that's what is the message of this eclipse and the Aquarius essence. We can all get to know it better by allowing our life to be not so much the pursuit of knowledge, as I've shared infinite amount of times before, but the pursuit of what is the true path of divine union and love, the divine beloved. And we always think, wow, it's one life partner you get. Well, maybe for some, maybe not for others. And people who criticize other people or compare their paths to someone else are not getting that. You don't get to see the divine plan of anyone. They do. So it's beautiful once you have that experience. And when you're not just able to contain it within yourself, but live it as in passing that torch, doing the best and most ultimate you can do, whatever you're feeling or experiencing each moment, whether it's coming from you or an external reaction, always ask yourself, what is behind at the essence level? How can you invoke the I Am Presence? How can you work with the violet flame, with the pink ray of divine transfiguring love? Divine Mother, the Goddess embodiment, move into your mothering essence, into the embrace of grace. Always ask yourself, what would love do? And then just live it. Just make the next step. That's it. So simple. So I hope as many beings as that astrologer who shared his story are getting there eventually, seeing that it's not about all that we think we need to accomplish in this life, not just in terms of knowledge, but we think the world is somehow in need of our control over it. Because if we don't do our part, then the things won't go the way they need to. But we're not the ones in charge. We're the vessels for that which truly is in charge to do the alchemy through us. So ultimate surrender, beautiful compassion for all life, to be lived in whatever way it chooses to, even if it's still fragmented. It is what it is. It's sadness for each soul that still chooses to live in separation from the level of source, yes, but from the level of experience, it is what it is. And it is what it is. And I love you, beautiful people. I hope you will do as many of these activations and exercises as possible to do the embrace of grace. I'll talk to you again very soon. As always, so much love, wisdom, and power. And I got really beautiful feedback about the previous activation of the divine essence. It was an Elohim message about how to feel your essence and how to anchor the illumined union within that activation. So I'm so excited. It was beautiful feedback. Some beautiful people writing to me. I'm so grateful for all of you who share and support. I love you back. Numerous infinite amounts. If there's even an amount to it, I do. And remember, love is a state of essence. It's not a state of control where you think, if I love someone, I need to act that way and they need to act that way because that's love. We need to allow greater love now to become available and possible for us to experience as humans. And we can only do that by leaving the concepts which we already think that they're the right ones, maybe for a certain level, but then there's constant transcendence. So take care. Think about that. Contemplate, be with yourself, and just enjoy the spark of magic that you are. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Happy eclipse. So I want to present you again with this new book. As you can see, it's called The Signet of Atlantis. It's again from Barbara Handclough, and I want to read you a beautiful passage because it really resonates with what I've been sharing today in the video. And this writing was actually in 1991, but it was also a time of the eclipse, and we are now also in the time of the solar eclipse. So it's a beautiful synchronization, and afterwards, when I read it, I really felt this calling for it to be acknowledged through all of us who can acknowledge things of such nature and such depth. So this was a time when something really shifted, and she felt into what that was. And this is again about union, so I'll read it to you now. We are now ending 3,600 years of history, a long phase whose purpose has been to allow the gods, quote unquote, to incarnate and learn to feel and love as humans. All these experiences, whatever we have undergone during this time, has been a grand preparation for us to move fully into adulthood. The shift at the eclipse was that we saw, felt, and knew that we are now adults, able to experience and share all of ourselves that is divine and human. Only now can we become totally responsible, because only now we have known enough experiences to consistently make wise choices. What does this mean more specifically? Among other things, it means we are ready to ask for what we need, to demand real love and honesty from our companions, and to throw off authoritarian oppression and control. Many of us have realized that our present relationships are tremendously influenced by past life experiences, and many of us have discovered that we can better understand our current relationships if we clear these old experiences. But since the eclipse, due to the shift into full adulthood, all our memory codes of past lives seem to have been blown wide open. Not only do we have a sense of who we have been throughout time, but we are also recognizing those who have traveled with us. Moreover, as we awaken that part in ourselves that is godlike, we are beginning to remember times on earth when we were not being manipulated or interfered with by alien thoughts or energies. To resonate with this idea, try to remember being a member of a clan in a primeval forest. Remember yourself as a man in a group of men, or a woman in a circle of women. Notice that there is no hierarchy. Notice that each person emits a field of energy that teaches you something. We can feel these experiences now because their seals have been dissolved. We're actually beginning to remember that time of innocent bliss, that phase before we began a period of 3,600 years of ego development. Now that we have developed the observing self, a trait of the gods, we received as both our reward and nemesis. It is time to re-immerse ourselves in the earlier layers of self that are synchronized with the earth's vibrations. But we must not do this unconsciously. It must be done with the self-reflective powers we have gained during the long development of ego. The only access I know of such a journey is throughout storytelling. To bring you along, let me seduce you with a thought. Imagine what it would be like to look into the eyes of your lover, child, or parent and see the memories of all that you have ever been together, clear back to the age of unicellular life. There you are, beside one with whom you are bounded. You're both the result of eons of learning, loving, and living, but you are now more than ever before. Then imagine looking into the eyes of another and seeing with total consciousness all that they are. Imagine how they feel about you as you see them, and imagine how much more you see yourself as you discover all this knowledge in someone else. The only way to feel this is to remember the quality of the energy field as it was before the development of self-consciousness, while simultaneously utilizing our new powers of self-reflection. We have unlimited creative potential now only because we have allowed all this learning. But we must be very careful to see the earth shift back into unity, because the earth no longer needs to reflect our consciousness back to us. All this past learning between the people and the Divine One is now an open book. Like the demolition of the Berlin Wall in 1989, a barrier has been removed. Now at last we can see divinity in others. At last we are ready. It is time for me to travel back into my own selves, to rediscover those moments when I saw the divine and chose union over separation. Those were the pasts when I acted on intuition without hesitation. Those were the days when I knew I was guided toward right choices by wise beings from many dimensions. And so it is today. Each choice that is made out of feeling reverberates through the planet and increases our attunement to the inner earth. And that new resonance makes it possible for us to live in harmony with the planet, which in turn vibrates in harmony with the stars. Beautiful, isn't it? So the doorway of our human heart is the same as the gateway into the cosmic heart, or the universal consciousness, or our multidimensional nature. So again, this is the book called The Signet of Atlantis by Barbara Hand Clow. It is the old, beautiful original version because I love the originals. And yes, that is exactly what I meant, that return of innocence. And people who have not had that experience perhaps yet, what does it mean? They will hold a judgment in terms of comparison to all that they hold in their record memory, instead of going to that primordial memory, which is the memory of our light origin, or our star family, or our light family, and connecting again with that root. So I greet you all in the space of the embodied human Christ and the light of purity, the return to innocence, and I'll talk to you soon.